Good morning, students. It is
Good morning.
showing, yeah, it is showing 9 attendees to me. It's 9 only, right? Okay. All right, students. Yeah. So we are discussing the greedy techniques. Okay, and after that, this is the last problem that we are discussing of greedy technique, and then we will be starting the dynamic programming today. Okay, so I plan that we will finish 2 or 3 problems of dynamic programming this week. And with that, we will wind up the portion for quiz 2. Okay, whatever we finish till this Wednesday, that will be your portion for quiz 2. And but quiz 2 will happen next week on Wednesday. Okay, so we will not include the things that we cover on Monday and Tuesday on the next week. All right, fine. So we have already seen, the greedy method of task scheduling. We actually saw one algorithm which was based on, if you remember, which was based on it used to take which is the task that ends first, right? Based on that, we did the sorting, and then we used to remove all the events those were conflicting, right? This is another way to look at the same problem. In the sense, in greedy algorithms, we always talk about what are the greedy choices that we have, right? So we are changing our greedy choice now. Okay, so the problem is same. The problem is you don't see this is the solution basically. Okay, so the problem is given a set t of n tasks, and each task has been given a start time and a finish time, wherein of course start time is less than the finish time. And the problem given is perform all the tasks using a minimum number of machines. Okay, so here the condition is we do not have a single machine. We can use more machines, but the condition is, the constraint is, we want to use as less machines as possible, right? So that is the condition given to us. And so it is something like this. Here what we are, the greedy choice that we are taking is, we are, it's a simple, simple greedy choice, which what we are doing is, because we can apply the machines, we need to apply the machines as less as possible, but we can have more than one machine at a time. So we sort the task based on their starting time, and we, based on the starting time, we see that how many minimum number of machines I will require, and then I will allocate. Once a machine is free, I can allocate that machine to the other task. As simple as that. For example, here if I see, so these two tasks, the first, the machine 1 and machine 3, we are saying the first task I am starting at time number 1. Okay, and so I need to have a machine, I allotted machine number 1 here. And similarly, at time number 2, the second task needs to start. So I am allocating one more machine because machine 1 is not free. And also it is given that there is another task that also needs to start at timestamp 1. So I am also having one more machine, right? So likewise it is happening, but with only with 3 machines we are able to schedule all the tasks. That is the idea, right? The question here is, all the task has to be scheduled. The other way, when we solved previously, what we did was, we went by, the task, we sorted the task based on which is ending first, and then if we apply that, we remove all the tasks which are conflicting with it, because we had only one machine. Now we want to schedule all the tasks but minimum number of machines, and we are taking our greedy choice as the task which starts first. Okay, so there is a very simple algorithm for that. Okay, so we come to the algorithm. The algorithm is like this. Okay, so I have written the algorithm also here. It is like this. A set of n task is given, set n of task is given to you. So this was not looking appropriate, right? Here, because the question was, if I am giving machine 1 for the first task to machine 1, then I cannot do this machine 2. Both the tasks should be started. So machine 2 should use this task, right? That starts at time number 1. So it was just given. Now we are having this example. We see it by this example. So in this example, the task start and finish times are given. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tasks. And when we order them by start time, it comes like this: 1, 4, starts at 1, ends at 4, 1, 3, 2, 5, 3, 7, 4, 7, 6, 9, and 7, 8. And the goal is to perform all the tasks on minimum number of machines. So as simple as that, how the algorithm starts, you have sorted them with the start time, right? So now when I see 1, 4, okay, and I will assume at the starting that I do not have any machine allotted. I do not have any machine available to me. Okay, and then I see I need to have a machine. So I say that I will assign this task to first machine. So I say that 1, 4 goes to machine number 1. Then I see, pick the next task. Next task is 1, 3. That also starts at time number 1. And I find that there is no machine because the machine that is there, that is already you processing some other task. So I apply one more machine, that is 1, 3. Okay, now the next task when I find it is 2, 5. It is 2, 5. So for 2, 5 also I see that there is no machine free. So I have to allocate a new machine that starts the task number 3 at time 2, 5. Okay, then I go to the next task. Next task is 3, 7. But when I come, so this has to start at 3, 7. By then, this task 1, 3 has already ended. So I have a machine free. So we will always check whenever there is a machine free, we will not include one more machine. So this task 3, 7 will be assigned here. The next task come as 4, 7. So again for 4, 7 at timestamp 4, you find that there is already a free machine. Right? 4, 7 is already free. So we will not add one more machine. Rather, we will assign this 4, 7 to machine number 1. Then comes 6, 9. When the turn of 6, 9 comes, right? We already have machine number 3 free here. So we will give this task to 6, 9. When the turn of 7, 8 comes, we already have 2 machines free. This machine is also free and this machine is also free. So we can allocate any machine to task, the last task, that is 7, 8. Okay, very simple algorithm, right? So the algorithm is written here. So I have just put it here. You know, it is in the other slide also. So what we do is, I'll go back to this. Input is a set of tasks, set T of task W with start time and finish time. And the output is we have to make a non-conflicting schedule with minimum number of machines. So we initiate with saying that we do not have any machine available to us. M is equal to 0. And then every time we test the list of tasks, if this list is not empty, then we remove the task I with smallest start time. Okay, and then every time we are checking if there is a machine J for this I, for this task, if a machine is available, then schedule that task on machine J. We will always check that if the machine is available, we will put that task into the machine. Otherwise, you will say M equal to M plus 1 because we want to finally know which is the machine number. We started M with 0. So we will make M is equal to M plus 1 to say that, okay, this is the machine in which I am going to put it. Because we are putting the machines as order 1, 2, 3. And then schedule I on machine M. So we will allocate a new machine only when there is no machine available. Very simple algorithm. Okay, so what is the greedy choice here? The greedy choice is consider tasks by their start time and use as few machines as possible with their order. Okay, so can I say the runtime is going to be O n log n? You need to analyze that why the runtime is going to be O n log n. What are you trying to search here? What are you sorting each time? What are you checking that whether what is available or not? What is the minimum time? Every time basically you are sorting out for every machine you are actually sorting out for every task what is the task with the minimum starting time. Okay, and then the correctness is proved by by the contradiction, that you assume that that you have a better schedule. Okay, so right now you have a schedule with k machines, but you assume that okay, you contradicted by saying that we could use k minus 1 machine, and then you will prove it by contradiction that it won't be possible with k minus 1 machines. Okay, so the reasoning is given here. We can use k minus 1 machines, so that but our algorithm uses k. That is a contradiction. We are saying that we need to use k machines. To prove it by contradiction, we will say that, okay, we can use k minus 1 machines. Then you will say that let I be the first task scheduled on machine k. Then you will say machine I must conflict with k minus other task. Okay, so that will mean that there is no conflicting schedule using k minus 1 machines. So that means your initial assumption was not correct. Like that, you can prove that this your greedy choice gives you the minimum number of machines. Okay, the logic is very simple. You use a machine. You can theoretically also prove it like this, because you are going to add a machine only when there is no other machine available. Otherwise, every time you are checking that if there is a machine J for I, okay, then you schedule the task I on machine J. You do not add a new machine, right? You add a new machine only when it is not available, right? Fine. So that is your greedy choice algorithm. So with this, we wind up with greedy choice algorithms. We may revisit it after doing dynamic programming just to have some analysis part. Okay. So we start with dynamic programming now, students. Let me just check. What happened? Sorry. All right, students. So we start with dynamic programming now. Okay. So what exactly, what is dynamic programming, if that is what is asked to you, right? So dynamic programming, it's one of the most important algorithmic tools. What is dynamic programming? You can say it's a style, you can say it's an algorithm design technique, right? It's a design technique by which, what is the meaning of algorithm design technique is a problem is given to me. I want to solve a problem stepwise. So it's one of the techniques. Okay. So, if you further want to define, there are other algorithmic techniques as well. You have divide and conquer, you have greedy choice. All of them are algorithmic design techniques. So what is specific about dynamic programming? Okay, so we define dynamic programming like this, that these class of problems are methods for solving problems where optimal solutions can be defined in terms of optimal solutions to sub-problems. Okay, so dynamic programming is an algorithm design technique wherein the solution to a problem is provided by solving or by providing the solution to sub-problems. Okay, so now we assume that, so the next question is, why do you want to solve sub problems? Why can't you directly solve the problem? So we assume that we have somebody, or we are able to solve the sub problems. We are not able to solve this problem directly, but I have a solution for the sub problem. Then that's a problem again, I will have a solution. Okay, so because I have a solution for the sub problem, and I will merge all the solutions to get the final solution. Okay, but then the next question is the same thing you were doing with divide and conquer techniques also, right? In divide and conquer also, we were dividing the problem into sub problems, we were solving the sub problems, and then we were merging the solution, right? Like that. So in dynamic programming, what is specific is the sub problems are overlapping. That's another important, you can say, a feature of dynamic programming. So generally dynamic programming is used wherein, these kind of things occur. That the sub problems that you divide into, those sub problems are overlapping. Okay, so we represent it using a picture. I will explain after a while. Okay, so for example, these sub problems are overlapping. So let's take an example of Fibonacci numbers. Okay, so Fibonacci numbers are, for example, it is given like this: 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, and 34. Everybody knows this, right? So what is the recurrence for the nth Fibonacci number? right? So you know that Fn is equal to Fn minus 1 plus Fn minus 2. Okay, so the solution for n is defined with respect to the solution to smaller subproblems n minus 1 and n minus 2. Still you must be thinking what is, what whether it made sense or not, that I am saying the subproblems are overlapping. Okay, so I don't know whether you understood or not. So let me further clarify it, what exactly we mean. So you are writing a code, a small algorithm for solving the Fibonacci numbers, the first attempt. Okay, everybody knows this is fine. So Fibonacci n, if n is equal to 1 or n is equal to 2, you are saying return 1 because that's what is given to you. First two terms are 1, 1. Else, return Fibonacci n minus 1 plus Fibonacci n minus 2. Fine, no problems in this, right? So now, is it correct? The code is correct? Yes or no? It's correct, right? It's correct, no doubt about it, right? So Fn is equal to Fn minus 1 plus Fn minus 2. Fine. So now we try to find out what is the running time of this. Okay, so for finding out the running time, basically what is happening here? Each calls create two recursive calls. You wanted to find out Fibonacci n, so you called recursively Fibonacci n minus 1 and Fibonacci n minus 2. You did 2 times, you called it back. Each call reduces the size of the problem by 1 or 2. Right? So here you started with Fibonacci n, then you called Fibonacci n minus 1, the size of the problem reduced by 1. Then you called Fibonacci n minus 2, the size of the problem reduced by 2. Okay, so till you know that, till where you will go till when it becomes n is equal to, you have the answer only for f Fibonacci 1 and Fibonacci 2. That's the terminating condition, right? For rest all you will be doing this. It's a binary tree of, it's a full binary tree of depth n, right? So the order, yeah. Yes, tell me.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, you are audible, Priya.
Yes, ma'am. So actually, ma'am. So the if condition, it should be equals to 0 now, ma'am. Because suppose the user gives the input as what to.
Okay.
No, 2 means it will be like fib of 0 and fib of 1, ma'am.
No, whenever it will
And
find
then
that
0 means we
okay, understood.
Fibonacci of
Okay, understood what you want to say. Okay, fine, that is also fine. So you are saying you should define something as Fibonacci of 0, but this is also fine. What will happen whenever you want to know Fibonacci of 1 or Fibonacci of 2? You will directly return the answer as 1. So you can keep this as constant or macro, Fibonacci 1 is 1 and Fibonacci 2 is 1. Okay, so we are in general, otherwise, that, so that it goes to if part, otherwise you find out Fibonacci of n minus 1 plus Fibonacci of n minus 2. So this is going to create a full binary, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, when fib of 2 is called, it will return 1. It won't calculate
Yes.
fib
Yes.
of n
Yes.
minus 1 plus 2.
Yes. Yes. Right. So the complexity, if you try to calculate, is going to come, because what we are trying to say is like this. Why this problem? Why the complexity is coming 2 to the power of n is because you want to, whenever you have a problem size of n, you are reducing the problem size just by 1 or by 2. Okay. So the complexity you get will be O2 to the power of n. Okay. So this is how the meaning is this. Like this it is going to come. Fib n means fib n minus 1, fib n minus 2. Now when you calculate n minus 1, it will be n minus 2, n minus 3. N can be anything. N minus 2 means n minus 3, n minus 4. Like that. Right? So the question is, can we do better? Now to tell you, what is the problem in this design? It works all fine, very good. There is it's correct. But the problem is, now you see that if you have to calculate fib n minus 2, you are calculating fib n minus 2 here. Here also same thing, n minus 2. And for example, if you see n minus 5, n minus 5 you are calculating here, you are calculating here, you are calculating here, right? So many things, it's like overlap. That's what we meant, that the problems are there, but the sub problems are overlapping. This is a dynamic programming solution only, but the thing is you are dividing the problem, but the sub problems are overlapping. For example, fib n minus 3. 3 times in this picture you are calculating. Somewhere else also maybe you will calculate. So the smaller sub problems are overlapping, right? So a lot of repeated work. Can we do better? We have, the other solution also. How will you do better? So we understand that if I solve it like this, I get a complete full binary tree of depth n, and I cannot avoid having the complexity of O2 to the power of n. And you know that there is a lot of repeated work. So we don't want to do that repeated work. The solution is very simple. The solution is, it's like this. I should start solving the problem from bottom up, right? Bottom up means I should know that fib 1 is 1, fib 2 is 2, and fib 3, I should calculate only once, right? And as soon as I calculate fib 3, I should store it somewhere. And later on, whoever wants value of fib 3, I should pick it from that place only, right? Fib 4, fib 5, every time. So I should solve the problem bottom up, right? Fib 1, fib 2, fib 3, fib 4, like that I keep calculating, and only once I calculate. If I calculate it once and I store it somewhere, maybe in the array fashion, and whenever I need, I just pick the direct value. Every time I do not recursively call this. Then my problem is sorted out, right? So in dynamic programming, we have, generally what happens, we end up, solving in this recursive part, we need to understand that we are not calculating, the same thing again and again. So that's what we have to twist the algorithm little bit. Okay. So generally dynamic programming solutions are such that, the sub problems are overlapping. Okay. So now we need to identify a dynamic programming problem. Okay. So the solution can be defined with respect to solutions to sub problems. And the sub problems created are overlapping. That is, we see the same sub problems repeated. So we have to deal with the algorithm like that. So this is what is a pictorial representation, the meaning of overlapping subproblems. In divide and conquer, generally, when we say divide and conquer, we generally divide it in like this, that the problems are not overlapping. Generally, when we talk about divide and conquer, we mean the problems which are not overlapping. You have seen, you do sorting half, half, then half, 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 tn by 2, tn by 2. And in dynamic programming, the problems will be tn minus 1, tn minus 2. So Tn is written in terms of Tn minus 1 or Tn minus 2. In divide and conquer, you will see other kind of problems. So you can say dynamic programming is like divide and conquer, but that is the slight difference. In dynamic programming, it is showing that you are dividing the problem. Problem size is reduced by a very small amount. Okay, so it goes like that. So creating a dynamic programming solution. So now since we know the problem, so we can't help it out, right? Because that's the nature of the problems. Only thing is we can make our algorithm accordingly. So if I want to solve it using dynamic programming, let me approach bottom up. So step 1, identify a solution to the problem with respect to smaller subproblems. Pretend like you have a solver, but it works only for smaller problems. Okay, so for example, Fn is Fn minus 1 plus Fn minus 2. I will say that I cannot solve Fn, but yes, I can solve Fn minus 1. I can solve Fn minus 2. And then we need to do bottom up. Start with solutions to the smallest problems and build solutions to the larger problems. Now you see, this will reduce, this will not do the problem that we were facing, that complete binary tree will not happen here. So what we will do, dynamic Fibonacci DP, dynamic programming solution with n. Okay, so we are putting it like this. Fibonacci 1 is 1, Fibonacci 2 is 1, and then we are having a loop for I is equal to 3 to n. Okay, Fibonacci 3 is equal to Fibonacci I minus 1 plus Fib I minus 2. Every time we will do this, and we will always store this. Fib I need not calculate. So when I say Fib 3, so now you see, if I want to calculate Fib 3, it will already have value of Fib 1 and Fib 2. Fib 2 and Fib 1. When I want to calculate fib 4, I will already have value of fib 3 and fib 2. I will not calculate it again. I will have the solution because it's an array. I am creating an array, fib1, fib2. So every time I update the array and I take the value from that array. It's now in array format, okay? It's not a function now. See, that's the difference. Here, when I am writing it, I am actually recursively calling the function. Now I am not calling the function. I am picking the value from the array. That's the difference in writing the algorithm. Here, my fib is an array. There it was a function. I am not calling Fibonacci dpn here. I am just calling the array. Fibonacci I is Fibonacci I minus 1 plus Fibonacci I minus 2. Return fib n. Okay, so that is this. So this is your dynamic programming solution. So we need to identify that, okay, there is a, the sub problems should not be overlapped, and accordingly we have to write the algorithm. Okay, so use an array to store solutions to sub problems. Okay, so now is it correct? Yes, it is correct. Okay, so again it is actually doing the same task. Fib fn is equal to fn minus 1 plus fn minus 2. Okay, so what is the running time now? Yes. What should be the running time now? Just one for, yeah, just one for loop, so I can call it as on. Okay, not theta n, means theta n also is written, it's on. Just a for loop, and every time you are updating the array, you are picking it from the array. Okay, so fine. So that's the running time. So that's about, a basic example to introduce the dynamic programming. Now we take up a problem, and I expect that we will be able to do it in today's class so that we can start with a new problem tomorrow. Okay, so now the next problem is counting binary search tree. Okay, let's understand what is the problem. The problem is how many unique binary search trees can be created using the numbers 1 through n. Okay, how many unique binary search tree? You know what is a binary search tree, right? It has a condition that anything that is lesser than the node value will go towards the left, and the value which is more than the node will go towards the right. It's a binary search tree. The question is how many unique binary search trees can be created using the numbers 1 through n. Okay, so you have been given numbers 1 through n, for example, 1 to 6 here in this example, 1 through n. How many unique binary search tree we can make? Counting binary search. This is just an example. So suppose if 4 is here, then 2 will go to the left. So it's like when 4 is there, 1, 2, 3 will go to the left of 4, 5, 6 will come to the right of 4. Right, but again, within this 1, 2, 3, right? Within this 1, 2, 3, what can happen? I can place this 1, 2, 3 are left to the 4, but they can be in any place, isn't it? Within 1, 2, 3, what can happen? 3 can come here, 2 will go to the left, and 2 will go to the left of 3, and then 1 will go to the left of 2. Again, this I can, if I treat 4 as a root, again, it can be many number of trees here. Similarly, 5, 6, I can first place 6, and then towards the left, I can place 5. You understand that, students, right? So how many unique binary search tree can happen is, it's like, suppose if 6 numbers are given to me, I can fix that, okay, in root, I can place 1 in root, then I can place 2 in root, then I can place 3 in root, I can place 4 in root, I can place 5 in root, like that. Once I have placed a particular node in root, then I have to see that how many trees I can make from its children, right? So what is the sub problem? So step 1 is, assume we have some black box solver, call it as T, that can give us the answer to smaller sub problems. How can we use this answer from this to answer our question? Okay, so the first question is, how many options for the root are there? N options are there, right? So I can assume that 1 to n numbers are given to me. If I say 1, if I say I want to make 1 as the root, so you know that rest all the nodes will go towards right of 1, right child of 1. But then I have to find out how many trees I can make from this, except 1, how many trees I can make there. That is one choice. Another choice could be I can make 2 as the root. If I make 2 as the root, obviously at the left hand side 1 will come. Only 1 will come to the left of 2. But rest all, till 3 to n, it will go here. And then how many number of trees I can uniquely generate from that? That is the problem. Similarly, if I have 3, then I know 1 and 2 can come here. And I mean, less than 3 can come here at the left child. And more than 3 can go to the right child. But then the problem is, except 3, if I remove 3, then how many unique nodes, unique tree I can get from here, and how many unique binary search tree I can get from here. Right? So you will realize that if you make one particular node as a root, then your problem size is getting smaller. The problem is actually divided into two parts, right? If you just see this one, so you have to now, so if I am making 2 as a root, then how many unique BST, binary search tree, I can make from these nodes, left hand side nodes, whichever is less than 2, and how many unique trees I can make from right hand side. So the problem is divided like that, right? So if n, it is like that. If n is the maximum node, so all the children, all the nodes will come towards left of n. So the question is, if I have node number I, or integer I as a root, okay. So the question is, how many trees have I as the root? That's the question. No, in general, if I want to present this problem, I will say that I have numbers 1 to n, and I want to find out how many unique BST I can make from 1 to n. And now I am saying that I want to represent it in terms of I. So if there is a node I, then how many trees will be there considering I as the root? I am generalizing the problem. So you know that whichever number is less than I, 1, 2, I minus 1, that is going to come here in the left hand side, and whichever number is more than I plus 1, I plus 2 till n, it will go here. Okay, so if I am reducing the problem, so I will say that if I am making I as the root now, and if this problem was Ti, okay, so I will have a solution if I can find out how many trees will be there in the nodes Ti minus 1, isn't it? So it is like this. I can represent this as Ti minus 1. Right? So if I had I numbers, so now my problem size, so whichever is less than I means 1 to I minus 1, right? So I want to solve that how many trees will be, unique trees, BST will be there with Ti minus 1. And also they will be multiplied, those many combinations, they will be multiplied with how many unique trees I can have from these numbers, I plus 1, I plus 2, n. So now if you see I plus 1, I plus 2, they are nothing but the count is going to come as n minus I. Right? You can just test it. You have 10 numbers, 1 to 10. You make 5 as in between. So 1 to 4, and then rest numbers 6 to 10 will go to the right hand side. So the problem is converted to T I minus 1 multiplied with, because these many trees, you are making a combination with T n minus I. Okay, like that it is going to come. So I will call, if this was a problem I, what was the problem I? That I make I as a root node. Sub problem of size I minus 1. If this was Ti, then I want to solve Ti minus 1, and this one will become Tn minus I. Number of trees for this is same as 1 to n minus I. Right? So given solution, so the problem is, if the solution is given for Ti minus 1 and Tn minus I, how many trees are there with I as the root? Now we converted our problem like this. A solution is given, you are making I as the root, and solution is given for Ti minus 1, and the solution is given for Tn minus I. So how many trees are there with I as the root? Okay, so the answer is going to be Ti minus 1 multiplied with Ti minus I. Not understandable? What happened, Priya? I could not hear you, students.
No, I was also about am I audible, ma'am?
Yeah, you are audible now. Yes, Priya.
It's fine.
You were saying, Yeah. So you were
I was thinking about the answer is product that I was wondering.
yes. No, the
What
product
is T of I, ma'am? You tell that.
T of I is if I am saying that I am representing the problem as Ti. What is T of I? I is how many trees will be made, unique trees will be made, considering I as the root. Okay, so now how do I make that? Okay, considering I as the root, if I make, that means I is fixed. For I, the place is fixed. Now I have to say that if I is as the root, okay, so the numbers 1 to I minus 1 has to fall towards the left hand side, and I plus 1 to n should fall to the right hand side of I, right child. Okay, so now my problem of finding out how many unique trees will BST will be made with I as a root is converted to how many unique trees I will get from the numbers 1 to I minus 1, and how many unique trees I will get from the numbers I plus 1 to n, that is n minus 1, and multiplication of that. Right? Because you can put everything, you can combine with every other thing. So suppose there are 5 combinations and there are also 5 combinations. So when you each combination you map with each other combination, it is going to be multiplication, right? So it will multiply. So it is like this. You suppose you get five BST here, 5 BST here. So you take one BST with this one with second, one with third, one with fourth like that, one with fifth, then second with first. So the combinations will multiply. Okay, and all of them will be unique. Okay, so that is why it is Ti minus 1 into T n minus I. Okay, so the problem was, what was the problem? The problem, initially the problem given was, you have been given integers 1 to n, and you want to find out that how many unique binary search tree you can get. Unique binary search tree, means no binary search tree should be repeated. Okay, so now we considered the problem as, how do I find unique binary search tree? Each binary search tree should have a each binary search tree should have a different root node. Okay, now you are saying that you will fix a root node. Once you have fixed a root node, then you will find out that how many binary search tree you will get to the left hand side, how many binary search tree you will get to the right hand side, and the multiplication of that will give you how many binary search tree you will have when you fix a root node. Right, when you fix a root node, this is only for root number I. Okay, so if you have a problem, if you are saying that Ti will represent the unique binary search tree considering I as the root node, we are not talking about 1 to n now. Okay, considering only I as a root node, only for one node you will get these many combinations. Like that we have to do for all n. Right, so this is only for one. When you consider only I, so we can say that Ti is Ti minus 1 into T n minus I. This is for considering I as the root node.
Ma'am,
Like that, yeah.
ma'am, it should be n minus I or I plus 1.
Where? This
Uh,
one.
T of, yeah, that one.
It will come as n minus I, not I plus 1. Will it be same? I plus 1 will be same. We call it as
Actually, it should be like T of I plus 1 into T of I plus 2. That it should be a
not in,
summation.
not into. It will not be like 1 minute. 1 minute.
Yeah, ma'am.
What happened? It is not moving. Yeah. It is like this. So I plus 1, I plus 2, n will come here. So number of trees for I plus 1, I plus 2, I plus 1 is same. It is same as the number of trees from 1 to n minus I. It is same. You can write it like that also. I plus 1, I plus 2, I plus n. Okay. So that is going to be same as number of trees from 1, 2 to n minus I. It is going to be same. So we are taking it to make the problem like that, so that you have a n term also, we are making it as n minus I. It is going to be same. Okay, so that's why we are representing it as T n minus I. Okay, so now the question is, now to understand this, it is like this. Yeah. Yes.
So generally, according to the formula, according to our understanding, the total number of solutions with I as the root should be number of trees to the left number of combinations and the number of trees towards the right, na ma'am?
Yes, yes.
Was
So
I audible?
yes. It is all combinations. Yes. Yeah. Yes. 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 Now here and
Left combination can be any of the one. Ma'am, any
Yes.
of the tree can, if suppose if I take t I minus 1, ma'am, so t I minus 1 will mean that either 3, 4 or any other node cannot come immediately after the left of I, no ma'am. But then that case also should be considered, no ma'am. T of I minus 1 is only indicating the root, the number of trees with T of I minus 1 as the root. But then towards the left means we should cover all the possible cases, no ma'am.
All possible cases will be covered.
Was
So
audible, ma'am?
yeah. You were audible, Priya. I heard you. What
Yes,
we are
ma'am.
saying. Yes. Yes. In between, I am not able to hear you. Are you done? You are still saying something? Okay. Okay. So what?
No,
Okay.
ma'am, no.
Okay. Okay, so what we are trying to say here, if you see this one, okay, let me just revise. What we are saying is, so the problem is this. The problem is we have been given numbers from 1 to n, okay, and we want to find out that how many unique binary search tree we can make from 1 to n, okay. So we are saying that how many, so we are making a sub problem. The sub problem is, so we are saying that for unique binary search tree, we will see that which node I will place at the root node. I can place 1, I can place 2, I can place 3, I can place 4 till n. Okay, suppose I is my root node. So for I becoming root node, if I is a root node, then the sub problem is like this. I am fixing the root node I, then how many unique binary search tree I can get for numbers 1 to I minus 1. Why? Because if I am fixing I as the root node, all the integers which are less than I, 1 to I minus 1. The problem is not for any random number. The nodes are given 1 to n. Please remember this problem, okay? It's not that the nodes are given in between, there is a skip. It is not like that, okay? All the numbers are given 1 to n, okay? So then the problem is, if you are fixing I as the root node, then how many unique binary search tree I can make from node 1 to I minus 1, right? And 1 to I minus 1. So that we are saying that suppose I know the answer for it. Okay, so that is T I minus 1. And then you know how many nodes, how many unique BST I can get from for the integers I plus 1 to n. Okay, so I plus 1 to n, we can also, it will be same. It will be same if you find out the count, if you only want to count. Okay, I am not saying that it will be exactly the same nodes. If you talk about the count, then the problem is the count of I plus 1 to n will be same as count of Tn minus I. So we represent it like this, and the total combinations that you will make by making I as a root node is Ti minus 1 multiplied by Tn minus I. That is your Ti. Ti is equal to Ti minus 1 into Tn minus I. That becomes your sub-problem. This is for only, yeah.
Ma'am, I think her question is like, suppose let us take the value of n to be 5 and I to be 4. I to be 5.
Okay.
For when I is 5, I minus 1 becomes 4.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's like we are directly attaching 5, the left child of 5 to be 4.
Yes.
But it
Yes.
can also be 3, and 3's right child can be 4.
Yes. So yeah, so the combinations will be there. See, that's what she's saying is, we showed it here, no, something like this. So you are saying like this. So how many options? If so, you are talking probably about this. If n is the, you are saying if 1 to 5, if n is the root node, then everything will go towards left of it, right? So n minus I will become in that case 0 probably, right? Nothing will be there, no. So you can consider it as only one combination at the right hand side.
I is n is 10 and I is 5.
N is 10 and I is 5, then n is 10 and I is 5 means 1 to 4. Node the value 1, 2, 3, 4 has to go to the left of 5, right? And value 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 has to go to the right of 5, right? It is like that, no? So that's what we are saying, no? So anything it can take it up. Yeah, it's a good thing, you know. I also was so if you have n as 10 and 5, okay, so 5 is coming at left. If 5 is the root, then 1, 2, 3, 4 has to come to the left of 5, right? And 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 has to come to the right of 5, right? So now the question is 5 is the root, right? So now I have to see that how many trees I can make from, how many unique BST I can make from 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? That's why I'm calling that the problem is reduced by Tn minus 1. Simple. That's what. Tn minus I. So if I was 5, I said it is Ti minus 1. Did I say I minus 1? I would have said Ti minus 1. This problem will be Ti minus 1. Okay, Ti minus 1. Because now I want to find out, earlier if it was 5, now I have to make I minus 1 means how many unique trees I will make by these 4 values. See, Ti minus 1, do not take it as T4, 4 as a root. It is not like that. Ti minus 1 means how many unique tree I can get with numbers 1 to 4. Okay, and then Tn minus I. Okay, Tn minus I means not that clear, Priya. Tell me. Yeah, tell me.
Yes, ma'am. I will drop a message in the WhatsApp group. Classes.
Okay. Okay, I should access that. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Class started, please join. That is the only message I got. You have sent, okay. No. Okay, I did not
Ma'am,
get that.
ma'am, it's okay, ma'am. Later,
okay, we will
yes, ma'am. I
research.
haven't dropped it. I will.
No. So that the thing is, see, when you want to do it, no, we will do it with a small number of. So this is the idea, okay. So when I say Ti minus I means how many unique binary search tree I can get from 1 to 4. That is the meaning. Okay, by including the node 1 to 4, and Tn minus I means how many unique tree I can get. What will be the count that I will get from including nodes 6 to 10. Okay, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So what we are saying that count of n minus I. N was 10 and I is 5. So 10 minus 5 is 5, right? So here actually it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 only, right? So it is like why I am putting it as n minus I. As you said, it should be I plus 1, I plus 2 till n. But if you see, it is also about a problem with 5 nodes. Okay, with 5 nodes, those are in increasing order 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the count is going to be will be same, Tn minus I. That is how we reduce the problem. Okay, and this case is, we will discuss it, not an issue, students, we will discuss it. I knew this confusion will come. I have made some images and kept it so that we will do it tomorrow. Okay, so this is how it is going to come. That is what is the problem. Okay, so we will discuss it. So finally, the question, so I will wind up with this for now. Define the answer with respect to sub-problem. So it is like this. Tn is equal to, this is the final answer. Tn is equal to Ti minus 1 into Tn minus 1. Sigma I is equal to 1 to n. That is not the final answer. Okay, it is like every node I will consider as a root node. So I equal to 1. I will consider 1 as a root node, 2 as a root node, till n as a root node. So when I consider I as a root node, these many number of combinations I get. So I have to take a sigma of everything. That's what one of you were saying, right? I think with this, if I wind up, I think you are satisfied. We can discuss it tomorrow. We will definitely discuss. I will take a small, I have made examples also, students. I see here, you can see I have already made PNG images to show you here. So, but I have to take another class, students, at 11:40 for other students. It's a special class. Okay. So I'm winding up here now. But fine, I am happy that you got confusions, because then only we understand the problem. Okay, so this is the final solution. Tn is this. Sigma I equal to 1 to n, Ti minus 1 multiplied by Tn minus I. All right, we wind up with this, students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am, 1 second. Ma'am. Hello, ma'am.